Hello and welcome to In the Director's Chair on Guardian.co.uk. I'm Jason Solomons, and my guest on this edition of the show is the American writer and director Nora Ephron. Her previous films include Sleepless in Seattle, You've Got Mail, and her latest is Julie and Julia, the story of two very different women in very different times who both transform their lives through the art of cookery and writing about it.
If I really wanted to learn to cook, I could just cook my way through Julia Child's cookbook. I could blog about that. I have a copy. I stole it from my mother last time I was in Texas. When I was 8, my father's boss came to dinner, and it was a really big deal, and my mother made boeuf bourguignon. But it wasn't just boeuf bourguignon. It was Julia's boeuf bourguignon. And it was like she was there, like Julia was there, in the room, on our side, like some great, big, good fairy. And everything was going to be all right.
Nora, welcome to In the Director's Chair. Lovely to have you with us.
My pleasure.
The three films I mentioned there, Sleepless in Seattle, You've Got Mail, and now Julie and Julia, they're all about communications.
They are.
Seattle's about late night radio, we know that, and connection through that. Then You've Got Mail was one of the first films about email. Now this is about blogging and also about the old school of writing letters.
That's right.
As well.
Yes.
These forms of communication, particularly through words, seem to fascinate you, rather than the sort of moving image itself.
Well, I know one of my favorite moments in the movie is when Julia Child finds out that her book is going to be published, finally, after 10 long years of writing this gigantic, revolutionary cookbook. And the news comes in a letter. And we have that letter. The letter we use is the exact letter because people saved all their letters. They're not like those of us who are constantly cleaning out the house. And, there was a time when news came in letters. And I remember that time. I do.
It's not that long ago, but it's a beautiful moment when you open the letter and there's Meryl Streep plays it beautifully. She sits down. She doesn't know what's going to be in that letter. And I noticed the publisher is Knopf.
Knopf,
She
yes.
doesn't know how to pronounce it.
Yes, right.
And they're your publishers as well, aren't they?
They are my publishers, yes. Julia Child and I shared publishers. We did, yeah.
So I was looking at the film and I was thinking how much of Nora Ephron is in both of these characters.
I think quite a lot in both of them because, but that isn't to say that they are me, but I am I'm a passionate cook, and I learned to cook from Julia Child's cookbook and had an immense imaginary friend relationship with her that Julie Pell also had. So it's not that I imposed my own biography on hers. It just was an overlap that made it very comfortable for me to write.
I'm going to try to flip this thing over now, which is a rather daring thing to do.
She changed everything. Before her, it was frozen food and can openers and marshmallows.
Don't knock marshmallows.
Give it a try. When you flip anything, you've just got to have the courage of your convictions, especially if it's a loose sort of mass, like, oh, that didn't go very well. But you see, when I flipped it, I didn't have the courage.
She's so adorable.
I needed the way I should have. But you can always put it together. And you're alone in the kitchen. Who's to see?
I mean, if you think of the great characters that you have kind of ushered into life, including, I suppose, these two are kind of life did it for you in the meantime, but they're your versions of these characters, and your Meg Ryan character, and your in both You've Got Mail and Sleepless in Seattle, and I'm thinking of your Harry Met Sally characters as well, that you brought them into your life.
Well, Sally is very, very much like me in many horrible ways.
Everyone likes Sally. People fell in love with Sally.
Well, I know,
but
but not all waiters fall in love with Sally. Let's make that clear.
That wasn't you at Katz's Deli.
No, that wasn't me. I don't mean that. I just mean the way she orders. The particularly insane, finicky way she orders is me.
Yeah, but you grew up in the movies, so I wondered if that was, how they kind of informed your early life.
Well, I think my early life was more informed by books than by movies, which is not to say I didn't go to the movies every single Saturday and see 2 movies. But I loved them and I remember them. But my imagination was mostly taken with books growing up. I was just a voracious reader, and I always think that all romantic comedy springs from The Taming of the Shrew or Pride and Prejudice. That essentially all romantic comedies can be traced to one or both of those things. That either it's about a problem of character that divides 2 people, or it's a problem of class.
Yes.
And so those are kind of the 2 richest strains, and they pretty much get to everything until... Are you interested in this?
Oh, yeah, that's why I'm asking. This is why we're having you on, because you're the
until
master
you
of
get
this
to
craft.
Woody Allen.
Yeah.
Woody Allen changes everything because the problem becomes the neurosis of the male character. That is also in When Harry Met Sally.
Because it's a perfect blend of those 2 things that you're talking about.
Yes.
Which I never actually realised now until you...
Anyway, blah, 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 blah. But the point is that so that always interests me. That's always fun to look at. But those are the things... I think Jane Austen had more of an effect on me than It Happened One Night did.
Yes,
frankly,
no, I can see that now.
So.
It's interesting when you mention When Harry Met Sally, because you wrote that, but you didn't direct it.
No. My first movie was a movie about a woman who becomes a stand-up comic and has 2 kids, and it's all about that whole dilemma.
Yes, this is called...
It's called This Is My Life.
In 1992.
And, who was going to direct that movie? There were very few women directing movies. Most men don't want to direct movies that aren't about them. And, well, that's just true. Most directors don't want to direct movies that aren't about them because it takes a long time and you have to find some way of it feeling personal. Yeah. So when I was writing that movie to direct it, that was when I just thought, I've got to become a director. And I also felt that I had to protect my writing because as you know, the movie business turns on you at a certain age if you're a writer. But if you're a director, you can kind of get an extra 10 years or so out of the business. So it was almost that if I became a director, at least I would have a director.
Did you learn directing? Or was it something you saw what someone did with your script?
I got to watch Mike Nichols direct Heartburn and Silkwood. He let me be there. And then I watched Rob direct When Harry Met Sally. So I felt that I sort of knew something. But then it turned out I didn't know anything. I'm totally mortified at how stupid I was for my first few movies. Now I know quite a lot more.
Nora Ephron, absolute delight to have you. Fascinating insight into both of your arts. And congratulations on Julie and Julia, and thank you for coming in the director's chair.
Thanks. This was fun.